Welcome to your instant reaction edition of Andy Ari, presented by BetMGM. And Ole Miss has beaten Oklahoma in Norman. Check another item off the list for Lane Kiffin. He has now beaten a ranked SEC team on the road. That was one of the things they said he couldn't do, and he did it.
Well, that's the first time.
That's the first time at Ole Miss.
Really?
I don't know if he did it at Tennessee. He almost beat Alabama when he was at Tennessee.
That's a pretty surprising stat. You would think with how many teams are typically ranked in the SEC, he would have beaten number 24.
That was the stat. That's why it was the stat. So yes.
Yeah. So obviously two very different sides of the coin here. Ole Miss continues to move forward after suffering their first loss, but man, I don't know. Walk me through your column about Ole Miss, because I want to know what you're.
Ole Miss is in the playoff. Sharpie. Ole Miss playoff team, because they're not going to lose two more against the rest of this schedule. I know, probably shouldn't say that, but they're not going to lose two more against the rest of the schedule. They play South Carolina at home, Citadel at home, Florida at home, at Mississippi State. They are not going to lose two more against the rest of the schedule. Ole Miss is going to the playoff.
Yeah. You've never cursed anybody before. I'm sure it'll be okay. But they did lose to Kentucky and Florida last year. The hope is that they wouldn't do that 2 times in 4 games. One of those games being against the Citadel. So I think that you're probably pretty safe in that regard. Yeah. So obviously that's a huge situation for Ole Miss, and I think that it's always so funny because in college football, all the time and in the offseason, we talk about. This is the year for a team. This is the year. This is the schedule sets up. The talent sets up. They add these players, and blah, 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 blah. And then they don't make the playoff. And then the year that they're not supposed to be as good, they make the playoff. And that's what's so interesting about the sport. Hey, congrats to Lane Kiffin, man. He's the hottest coaching candidate in the country right now. And, I was always amused even during the week about, they need him to lose, or teams need him to lose so that they're free to get him early. He's proving why he is, and I think that's an important thing. And hopefully Ole Miss has a front row seat to why they need to, back up the Brinks truck to match whatever offers are going to come his way, because I'm assuming he's going to get 5.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, Lane Kiffin is obviously the top choice of Florida. I don't know if Penn State wants him, but why wouldn't you? I would expect to be a lot richer person if I were Lane Kiffin, but this is what I've been saying all along. The Ole Miss fans got mad because they only watched the clip with Josh Newberg. They didn't watch the whole video. But what I said was 15 years ago, there's no decision to make. You're going to Florida. But now you can win the national title at either place. Either place can pay you the same amount of money. And if you are 11-1 at Ole Miss and going to the SEC championship game, which is a distinct possibility, why would you leave? Why? Give me a reason why you would leave.
Palm trees.
I don't think that's a good enough reason.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. And I think too, as Ole Miss fans are piling in here watching this instant reaction, I know that as they continue to, enjoy success, the ironic part about it is the Ole Miss losing Lane Kiffin discourse gets louder and louder and louder. I thought that was a really good performance from a team that I picked to lose this weekend. I thought that defensive performance. Now, I don't know if what do you think that was? Was that a great Ole Miss defensive performance, or was that Oklahoma's offense stinking for the most part of the game? Because if you take away a few big plays,
I think it was Ole Miss's defense playing better than it played last week. It wasn't perfect, but it gave up a couple huge plays. I thought there were some mistakes that Ole Miss made and still won the game anyway. Lane Kiffin blamed himself for one of them, and it was his fault, putting Austin Simmons in on the goal line. That cost them 4 points. They ended up having to kick a field goal when Trinidad Chambliss would have just hit the open receiver, and that would have been a touchdown. And then they went for it on 4th down in their own territory. That only cost them 3 points. But the going for it on 4th down, the more I think about it, I'm not going to criticize him for that, because that's just the team and the culture he's created. And so you ride with that, good or bad.
You sure about that?
I think it was stupid in the moment, but
there is, because isn't that what they always say about the Lions and the NFL that like they're
Campbell,
going to
yes,
all the time. They're going to, but like I feel like there's a limit to like where it's like if you have an 18 against the 10, you're not hitting like that. You might always hit on.
I don't know, man. With Trinidad Shambles, I feel pretty good about
4th and 1 from your own 17-yard line or whatever it was.
I feel pretty good about converting wherever it is on the field.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody. Yeah, we'll have to disagree on that. Like I like that they go. Definitely, the field is unheard of.
Yeah,
especially playing against a team that hadn't gotten a first down in like a real time.
Ari, who won the game?
Ole Miss.
Okay. Did being aggressive win Ole Miss the game? Yes, it did. So they were aggressive. They stayed the same throughout. Was that a mistake in the moment? Yes. Is being aggressive as a general is being aggressive as a general program philosophy a bad thing? Not for them. It works.
Right. I think that all those things can be true, and it also could be stupid, which I think you agree with. So,
I believe in my guys. I believe in my guys. That's what Lane Kiffin's. I believe in my guys.
Like how I am, man. I'm all for going forward.
I know.
The trust in your players. Like I was just like, listen. I have a very high governor for oh my god they're going for it moments. Like I sat up and was like, what, they're going for this? Like even I was like, wow.
Because the way Shameless is playing at the moment, I might have made that same decision. Like he was so good at that point
too. It's like, well, why wouldn't you punt it away because Oklahoma can't get a first down and they can't score? So why? But then maybe the thought process is even if we don't get it, they're not going to score, and then they didn't. So like they only got a field goal.
That's the thing. They gave up a field goal. They made a two possession game, and that whole sequence it didn't really change much.
And I believe on the following possession, Ole Miss marched down the field and got a field goal too. So they basically just chewed up the entire quarter. At no point, I mean, I guess there was a certain point when Oklahoma took the 1-point lead where it felt like things were starting to fall apart for Ole Miss. But like there was like maybe 10 real-time minutes this afternoon where it felt like Oklahoma was going to win. And I think that's a pretty good thing because, like, listen, we're going to have to, flip the coin here and talk about Oklahoma in a second. But Oklahoma's a fairly good team, a team that had visions and thoughts of going 9-3. I think we came into the weekend, or at least I came into the weekend thinking that Ole Miss was kind of fraudulent in the sense of like, if you go look at their advanced stats on both sides of the ball or on the defensive side of the ball, there's some alarming things there. And then I was wondering too, like if their resume was kind of setting them up for a position where they were going to get exposed. And that 75-yard or 76-yard touchdown pass to Satania that we saw in the first half, I thought was going to happen quite a bit in this game, and it didn't. There were a few big plays, but it wasn't the hallmark of the game the way I thought it would be. Like, if I'm an Ole Miss fan right now, not only am I excited about the fact that, like, I sharpied myself, or it feels like I sharpied myself into the playoff, I think you feel pretty good about the potential of actually winning games once you get there, too, because, that was a hard environment. It was raining out, like, Oklahoma felt like they had to win that game. And I think after we're done doing this, I'm going to write a column about how Oklahoma had to win that game and they didn't. Big win for Ole Miss. And I think you can't say enough about, this year's team. I don't know if I believe they can win the national title. But I do believe that they are maybe a lot better than I thought they were coming into the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to be in the mix for the SEC title. It depends on how everything else shakes out in the tiebreakers, probably what happens with Georgia the rest of the way, since Georgia has that win in hand against Ole Miss. But they're in great shape. Ole Miss fans, crack yourself a Modelo. That's right, Modelo sponsors us and is the official beer of the college football playoff. Grab yourself a Modelo. Stay game day ready all season long, and you should be celebrating, Ole Miss fans. You should be cracking many Modelos tonight because this was a huge win for your program, for your team, for everything, because they're going to make the playoff. I am very confident in saying that. Ari thinks I'm cursing you. They're going to make the playoff. So grab yourself a Modelo. Enjoy. You've been ready all season. You've never lost a party at Ole Miss, so of course you know where to find the Modelo. Now on to the sadness. Let's talk about Oklahoma. I'll start with a comment from Brandon. I hate when Oklahoma loses because all the stupid people criticize Brent Venables. This loss is 90% on John Mateer, 5% on Isaiah Satania, and 5% Ben Arbuckle.
That's interesting,
Brandon,
man.
Who hired Ben Arbuckle and therefore took John Mateer as the quarterback? Who did that? Whose decision was that? Ari, are you going to answer that question?
Oh, I thought you were talking to him. I was just going to sit here and
Brandon was just going to answer it, even though he's not in the studio.
You, Brandon, that you were going to answer. I didn't know. Yeah, Brent Venables made all those decisions. I was still trying to break down in the
his math
he came up with it, because even if you take Brent Venables out of the math equation of culpability, like I still don't know if that's the correct breakdown of who's at fault here.
It's definitely not. John Mateer was not good in this game.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not 90% John Mateer. It's some of the defense. Remember how Oklahoma had the best defense in the country? It may turn out that it was really good against teams that had bad offenses.
Yeah, and I hate getting to a point where it feels like it's like, okay, well, all the analysis that you do for an entire year, like I think maybe part of it too is that you give up 34 points. That's a lot of points, but it's not an obscene amount of points to maybe one of the best offensive outfits in the entire country either. Like I think it's like a little bit of both.
It's the same amount. Yeah. It's one less than Georgia gave up to them last week.
Yeah.
Right? 35 last week?
35, I believe. Yes. I think you're correct.
So
yeah. And we came into the weekend thinking, or we talked about this, but like Oklahoma's plan for the rest of the year had to be win the games you're expected to win or win the games that you're favored in, as I wear my BetMGM hat. They had an opportunity here to reclaim their season, to put things from, is Brent Venables on the hot seat, to maybe optimism, and they failed to do that today. And I think the conversation about Oklahoma's season now officially goes into the dark mode area of like, it's not what can we do, it's how bad can it get.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's
let's pause before we look at what Oklahoma has left and examine Ronald's comment here, because this is an interesting one. Oklahoma had 2 freshmen on the O-line and one was in his first start. Give him a break. Ronald, it's the University of Oklahoma. You're supposed to win every game. You don't get a break. You don't get excuses. You're supposed to have a good offensive line. You're supposed to have a good quarterback, and you're supposed to have a good defense. It's the University of freaking Oklahoma. The second you start saying stuff like that is when you accept the loser mentality of programs that do not expect championships. It is the University of Oklahoma.
Get this guy a chef's hat. Let him cook.
Sorry, you're supposed to win. You're supposed to be good. You're supposed to compete for championships. You can't make excuses.
And we're certainly not in the year of the coaching tenure where that would be acceptable, even if you wanted it to be.
Correct. It's year 4.
It's like, so the fact that you have those personnel issues right now is also a problem. So like, however you want to slice it, like whatever. If the personnel issues are the reason why you lost, then you're the reason that you had those personnel issues, and thus it's still your fault, which goes back to the, rhetorical question that Andy asked one of the listeners here that I didn't chime in on. So like, I don't know.
Wait, hold on. The LG wants to come after both of us. Ari, that's a poor take. Losing by 8 to a good team should not put you on the hot seat. Also, the problem is Bill. Who's Bill? Bill Bedenbaugh? The offensive line coach?
He's talking about Landis.
Yeah. Like, guys, that's also Brent Venables' fault. He's in year 4. If his offensive line coach wasn't getting the job done, he should have changed him. Like, I don't understand where the disconnect is.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of an interesting tenor to see Oklahoma fans in the chat here trying to, back up their coach. You would think that would be the exact opposite feel that you would get.
Oh, but there's a healthy percentage of them that are not.
Yeah.
Let's River, post the schedule that remains for Oklahoma. Okay, Tennessee, Alabama on the road. Missouri, LSU at home. They're not going to lose all these games, Ari. They're going to win some of these. But are they going to go 4-0? Probably not. I think 2-2 seems very reasonable for this stretch. And actually, a good team probably goes 2-2 in this stretch. An above average team goes 2-2 in this stretch. Unfortunately, that means Oklahoma finishes 8-4. That's probably not going to get Brent Venables fired, nor do I think it should. But he's got to be careful. Don't go below that. Don't drop below that.
I mean, 2-2 in that stretch is a pretty good run. That's the thing. Like that's the baseline expectation of that's pretty good. The second it dips into unacceptable, which I think would be 1-3, which, by the way, would be difficult. I mean, even though that means you have to beat one of those 4 teams, and that's a difficult thing to do. You are in danger. So, again, I think that today was the turning point of Oklahoma's season. They had a chance to turn something into, excitement and optimism, and instead now we're looking at dire scenarios. That's just the way I viewed this game. That's the way I viewed it coming into the weekend, and that's probably what I'm going to write here. Of hey, maybe CFP was a little bit of a pie in the sky thought process, but at least you wanted to put yourself in a position going into November to believe that was still possible. And now that this felt like an elimination game for them.
It sure did. And they still can't, they can make the playoff if they win out. That is still on the table. So it's not over yet. And we buried them after the Texas game, and they came back and played really well against South Carolina. So it's not over yet. But
they don't even have to win out. 3-1, I think, maybe gets them in. Maybe
it depends on what happens with everybody else. But yes, that's a very tough schedule. They would have the toughest schedule of anybody in the mix. And so,
well, here's the more important question: do you believe that they're equipped to beat anybody on that? Maybe LSU with the way they're playing right now, but I
think they go 2-2. I think 2-2 is realistic. I don't really think 4-0 is realistic.
So they have to beat Tennessee or Missouri, and then we're already chalking up LSU as a win.
I'm not chalking up LSU as a win.
I'm just saying.
I don't know where LSU is going to be at that point.
Believing 2-2 is a pretty optimistic belief, I think.
Yeah. Justin in the chat, Oklahoma was only expected to go 8-4 in the offseason. Exactly. See, it's 8-4. It's an improvement over last year. You build on that. You win 1 or 2 more next year, you're in the playoffs.
It's an interesting comment. How often do you think that we as consumers of the sport have expectations in August and then depart from those expectations when they come true in October, November?
I do think the early surge by Oklahoma raised our expectations for this team, but as we just saw, as Justin just pointed out, this is what we thought they were going to be. This is exactly what we thought they were going to be. They've won some good games, and then they've lost to a couple of good teams. Exactly where we thought they'd be.
Yeah. And, I think my personal opinion is that Brent Venables has done enough this year to keep his job for another year. But again, that's always the jury's out scenario.
I'm not making that declaration until I see what he does the next 4 games.
I'm saying through the body of work that we've seen so far, if you had to make the decision today, keep or fire, I would say
I'd keep him as of today.
Again, you turn around and lose in a bad way next week, that's a fluid situation. So, I think as of right now, I would not have lost my faith in Brent Venables. I think, you could still lose it though in the season.
Yeah. So we're going to we'll see. I mean, Tennessee has to beat Kentucky. I think they will, but we'll get an elimination game between Oklahoma and Tennessee. Essentially, I know you think Oklahoma get 9-3, but
I think they have a chance to. It's not a guarantee. Yeah. Let's let the Ole Miss here.
We'll play it off. We'll play it off with Austin. Hotty toddy, as long as we take care of business, we have a real chance to make the playoffs after this week. With the coaching talk, it feels so good because of that. Love you guys. Love you too, Austin. And hey, Austin, you don't have a chance to make the playoffs. You're making the playoffs. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Grab a Modelo and crack it open tonight, Ole Miss.
A few other things to close us out here, Andy. I know you wanted to go. But first of all, Sailor Joe's one of our most loyal listeners. Are y'all going to cover the Sark NFL rumor? I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point on tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk about it during the show. But I will say the fact that his agency put something out, it's pretty telling that maybe this did not come from a very credible
You would
source.
think that's where that would come from. Would be from them. And
I know you're going to say, oh, well, they probably leaked it and then put out the statement. That's not how that works. They never do that.
Yeah. Also, Vance here in the chat, one of our most loyal listeners, allow me to be an annoying, proud alum. Memphis beat USF as we were on air.
What a freaking comeback, by the way, because they were down 10 for most of the fourth quarter. Congratulations to Memphis. We got to call up Ryan Silverfield, get him on the show again, because they are in great shape. Yep. Even though they lost to UAB, still in great shape.
Yeah. So, we have a lot to break down tonight. That was a really fun noon window, and we've got a lot of action happening right now.
Auburn won. Hugh Freeze finally made a quarterback change after a crippling pick 6. And guess what? They won.
Yeah, their offense moved the ball the entire second half. It's hilarious.
Shockingly, all they had to do was change quarterbacks.
Yeah, 3 weeks too late, maybe. I guess we can talk about that later. And I think I saw that
Bill Belichick went for 2 in the first overtime to say, you know what, we're either going to win or lose it right here, and they lost.
Yeah,
congratulations, Virginia.
Might be in the Alabama Sleepwalks Terror Dome at the moment, so we'll see.
And also one more, Ari. Wake Forest walking off SMU, hitting the season over already. Congratulations, Jake Dickert. I tweeted Jake Dickert, Coach of the Year, and somebody's like, "What about Brent Key?" I was like, "Did you watch the Georgia Tech Wake Forest game? Brent Key's voting for Jake Dickert."
Yeah,
but Wake Forest has 5 wins, so they're over the BetMGM preseason win total, and they play Florida State next week with a chance to get bowl eligible.
So, electric times. Great window. Even better one up. That's happening right now.
We'll talk to you at 11:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. Break it all down, and of course, something huge happens. We'll be right back on.